All right, tons of feedback here to the Karsch and Anderson inbox, and we do appreciate your texts, your phone calls, your tweets, your posts on Twitch and YouTube, many of which get read on the air, some of which get read on the air, many of which get seen. But thank you for being with us. And those are websites where you can watch the show, YouTube and Twitch. And happy holidays, everybody. It is a great time to be with family and think about what's important. Certainly looking forward to having the kids home. It's weird being an empty nester, Stoney. It's very weird. But you want to turn your mic on.
I'm not an empty nester because my daughter lives home.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Well, we have one that's just down the street. Feedback: Champ Matt Stafford for being a future Hall of Fame quarterback. Chump Kelvin Shepard has his starting front seven and can't stop the run. Maybe the Lions should have hired an experienced DC like Dennis Allen. Look, the one thing about it, I think you're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to. It's a shame when if you do get something wrong, but I don't hesitate to think that this group would make changes if necessary. They have in the past, and eventually, if you make too many mistakes, it brings into question whether or not you know what you're doing, and it can cost you your job. But they're very well might be tweaking. I've come to know something, Stoney, is I don't know the first thing about coaching football, but you can look at results and say, okay, something went wrong, and does your organization have the couillons to make changes when necessary?
Right. By the way, Aaron Glenn, he learned from Dan Campbell, right? He just fired his defensive coordinator.
Did he?
5 minutes ago, Steve Wilkes.
Interesting. Ray from Romulus, my champ of the weekend is Ferris State. The Bulldogs won 49-17, win their 29th in a row, and are off to McKinney, Texas for the national championship. My chump is the Detroit Lions. Enough said. Boy, what they're doing up at Ferris is kind of fun.
I know.
I think we can all get on board with that. From the San Francisco Conference Championship game 2 seasons ago to get the game yesterday, the Lions seem to be getting out-coached against good teams. They've got some big wins in there against good teams.
Yes.
I thought, and Dan Campbell might know this answer, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, Chris Shula, at halftime, whatever he did, first 3 possessions of the second half netted nothing for the Lions. Like nothing. 3 and outs.
Yeah.
And so did Chris Shula do something in particular that Dan Campbell or the offensive staff was late to adjust to or didn't see it coming?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Their strategy was to protect the edges so Jahmyr Gibbs would not be a factor, and he wasn't.
People look at this team and they look at the talent and they say, oh my God, we went to the AFC Championship game just 2 years ago. We have one of the greatest running backs in the league. And yeah, maybe we're letting our offensive line fall apart a little bit, but of course we're going to be good for a while. Yes, I was talking about the 91 Lions. Kind of scary how similar they are. We may be on a 30-year trial coming up. Maybe what? No. That has nothing to do with what's going on today. But 248-539-9797. Stoney is in for Gator. Let's get to our champ and chump. My champ of the weekend is Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana Hoosier quarterback. Congratulations on the Heisman. Well done, young man. You're the champ of the weekend.
My champ of the weekend is Minnesota Wild general manager Bill Guerin for having the stones to take a chance on trading one of his great young players and Marco and Boyum and Marco Rossi and a number 1 to get Quinn Hughes, who there's no guarantee is going to stay there, but he seemed optimistic, and we might hear from him a little later in the program. And my chump, by the way, would be the one, the only, Diego Pavea.
Oh God!
Because after losing the Heisman to the aforementioned Francisco Mendoza, went on Instagram and said, F all the voters with a thumbs down emoji, but family for life. He then apologized later and said,
yeah, not good. I mean, I think about, some of the stuff my boys say and do, and young adults can make terrible decisions.
Yes.
I'm glad he apologized.
Yes.
My jump of the weekend is the ref for the phantom touchdown call that I'm not even sure was really a catch, but how is that a touchdown?
I have no idea. I think it was a catch. And I think if anybody thinks that was a huge play in that game, you're nuts, because I believe that it would have been 1st and goal at the 1. And
I think they would have scored,
yes.
but I still have no idea how they can rule that a touchdown.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
He's still chump-like, but I'm just saying we had people call yesterday very upset about how that changed the
I'm
game.
upset about an overall incompetence that it implies more than any impact on the game.
Right.
I'm like, wait, what? 248-539-9797. Let's go to Bob in Wisconsin. You're on 97.1. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, guys, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Just a couple of things. I think I like Stoney's eye test, and then I think the statistics tells you a lot also. It's just not a very good football team. Let me just throw a couple things at you. I think they've only beaten 2 teams with winning records. Am I right on that? That one being the Bears and the other being the team from Florida, right?
Tampa?
Only 2 teams that have.
Tampa's at 500, I believe.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Baltimore's
that
at 500.
But let me just throw a couple things at you. I think that the demise, I figured after that mess with the Vikings about a month ago, I figured they'd go maybe 10-7. But I think when you look at the demise, you got some players, for example, a couple of guys from the University of Michigan, Corm, for example, and McCarthy, who have been sort of pounding the nail in the coffin a little bit. Corm, I think, had 70-some yards yesterday, and of course Stafford from the Lions. You got McCarthy, who put a nail in the coffin about a month ago, and he's still playing. He's playing very well again. Don't forget Hawkinson, an ex-Lion, who's playing very well with the Vikings. And with the Bears, of course, you have Swift, and then of coach.
Okay, so your point is that the Lions should have kept these guys or drafted every player from Michigan?
About all of
what's
them.
your point?
No. Did they get anything for Swift, or did they just get rid of him?
They got like a 7th-round draft pick for him. Or something.
Yeah, okay. And for the Hawkinson, I think they got maybe a little bit. That was a bunch of trades going on with that, if I remember right. I think Hooker had something to do with that thing, and I think Kansas City Chiefs got a receiver out of that deal, if I remember right.
Bob, are you just pointing out that you don't like seeing former guys that you rooted for hurting them? Is that the point?
No, I just think it's ironic. It's ironic how some of those things can come back to haunt you. You know what I mean, a little bit?
I don't know how many of those things are really haunting them, but I would say that if you don't like rooting against guys you used to root for, or you hate when guys you used to root for make plays against
sports.
you, yeah, it's going to happen. I think the net of most of the moves that you've described are pretty positive.
Yes.
Like there's not a lot of ruining about T.J. Hawkinson.
No.
In Detroit.
We have a pretty good tight end on. Unfortunately, he's injured. You know, I always like to say, we should have drafted this guy.
Yeah, it's your favorite.
Yes.
Stoney's favorite game is why didn't they take this guy instead?
You ready, Doug? Would you rather have Corby Sorsdahl or Puka Nacua?
Yeah, I mean, Stoney.
Because they drafted a wide receiver 2 rounds later in Antoine Green, so they should have drafted Nacua then.
Yes, because the Lions' problem is their wide receiver spot.
I know. But then they wouldn't have had to trade 3 draft picks to get Tesla. They would have had their 3.
Yes, of course. I mean, Stoney does this, and it's torture,
I know.
and he could do it for literally every team all the time.
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'm not quite sure the point of doing it other than to make yourself miserable.
Yes,
all
exactly.
Right, fair enough. Yeah. If that's your goal.
Yes.
Karsch and Anderson Gator out today. Stoney's in, making himself miserable, perhaps ruining your day. 97.1.